So I'm in the middle of installing parking sensors, and I decided to show how to remove the boot trim or the trunk trim. So first of all, you remove the rubber seal that goes around the boot, and this can be done simply by pulling it towards you out. Then this piece here is held on by clips. So start first from inside. So what I've done is I've removed the first boot, the first floor level, and there is a second floor level here to pull up a rug, and you simply start from the middle here. You start pulling from here and gently walk your way around. Here. Once you get the first 3 or 4 clips from the middle open on each side, then you start from the outside and you pull up slowly and gently along this line. You should be able to get the majority of the clips out of the piece. And there are 2 very strong clips that you have to be careful with. They are located on both sides, one here and one here. And what you do is that you lift up the corner that you already unclipped, and then you reach inside and push the rubber outwards towards the car this way, and that will get you unclipped on both sides. So now let me show you the rubber piece and where the clips are. As you can see, one here that went here, one here, one here that goes around here, here, and these 2 clips. So these are the 2 most important clips to watch out for, and they can be done by basically pushing out the rubber piece. So I hope this helps with your work and helps you get it done easier. So the next step in installing the rear parking sensors is to find exact position where you need to drill. So what I did was, first I laid down a layer of paper tape, and you have to look for the dead center of your car. In this Vauxhall or Opel Meriva, it's here, the boot hinge. So I traced down to the center this way, and then I measured from here 20 centimeters on either side of the center. So this way you get 40 centimeters in the exact middle of the car. 20, 20, 40. And since we have 4 parking sensors, we have to repeat the process and go from here another 40 centimeters on either side. So here you have to pay very much attention to making sure you have very leveled measurements. So with the tape measure, now I show you. You can see it's 40. The next one is 42. 40 also. So to get the cross point, which will be the exact point to drill, I basically measured from under here. I placed my hinge there, and I came up and measured 16 centimeters. Since this piece it's perfectly made, uni piece by doing the same on this side. 16 centimeters. That means we have a perfect measurement on this piece. So this is the exact same height as here. And I can confirm that by showing you that if you look here at this curve line, if we measure from where we just crossed, you can see it's 40 centimeters roughly from here to here. And doing the same here, you can see it's almost 40 centimeters here as well. It's around 35, 36. Yes, around that. But once the kit is installed, then it will be hardly noticeable by eye if it's straight or not. So I did the same thing here. I went under, came up. You can see it's around 27 centimeters on this side. And if I repeat the same here, exactly under the line, 27 centimeters roughly. So this is how you measure to get very close to accurate positions to drill when you want to install parking sensors. So now I'm going to go ahead and drill and show you the end result. So I've currently drilled 3 of the 4 holes, and what I forgot to mention when I was telling you about how to find where to drill, make sure that you put your hands behind the bumper and make sure there is nothing there that is permanently fixed, so that you have a free space to drill into. Make sure that when you mark your points, there is no metal plate behind or bracket. So now I'm going to show you how I drill. I've inserted my drill bit into my hand drill, and I place firmly on the cross point. So slowly you drill, and the first bit goes in as a guide, and then you put now constant pressure. Make sure your hand is not moving about, just constant pressure, slow drilling. Constant pressure. And that's it. So sometimes the drill bit may end up inside. So I simply undrill, or turn the drill the other way, and get the piece that falls down from the other part of the drill. And that's it. So now you have a clean hole to install your sensors in. One of the benefits of putting masking tape before you drill is that you don't destroy the edges of the circle, and you will see now that I removed the masking tape. The drill hole should be very clean. There you go. Perfectly drilled hole. So next I'm going to install the sensors and we will start wiring. Okay, so now I've started installing the parking sensor, and as you can see, it looks very, very good. Matches the color very well and is flush and neat all around the sensor. obviously I fed the cable through the hole to the back. So I left one just to show you how the sensor is inserted into the hole. If you look here, you would see there is a marking written up with an arrow. So make sure that that arrow is pointing up. And then start pushing in on all four sides where these rubber silicone holders are going to basically go behind the plastic of the bumper and catch it in a way that the sensor doesn't come out easily. So I'm just pushing on all four sides, just patiently pushing in. Okay, so depending on your sensor, if the rubber starts to accumulate behind the sensor in front of the bumper, then all you do is push it a bit away from the rubber in such a way that the silicone rubber then has enough space to get itself behind the bumper. And when you do this patiently, finish up by spinning the sensor just a bit left and right. Okay, and there it is, sensor is in. It looks good. The sensor's color matched the color of the paint, and all that's left to do is to gather up all the cables and feed them inside the car through the hole that I found here. Most cars have such a hole here to be able to get wires inside from outside, and they're usually sealed by something like this. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to basically make a hole in this and feed all the wires through from outside into the car, and when I replace this, the car will be sealed from the elements outside. And then we're going to go through here into the wiring box. So continuing with the installation, I'm going to now take you under the car to show you how I routed the wires. Okay, so as you can see, there is a lot of space for the sensors, and what I did was I simply tugged on them a bit to make sure that they are snug. I collected all the cables together into a bunch, and you can see them here behind, and I zip tied all the cables above this pillar, and that should keep the cables high enough and above the floor. So as you can see, I put in the cables through that rubber sealing plug, and basically I made a small hole in the plug and I pushed in the cables through it. This way the car remains sealed from outside, and I can also get my cables into the compartment that I need it to be. So just always make sure that you have a little bit of wiggle room for the cables. This way, in case something gets snagged, it won't rip off the cable. Okay, so now let's go inside. Okay, so now you see this, we are in the boot now, and all 4 sensor cables are coming out of that plug where I made the hole. And what I can do also to fully seal it again is to put some silicone there, but for now this should be okay. So I routed the cables out of the hole behind this stuff and into this hole, which pops into a compartment here where I can install the main sensor machine and do some wiring. Here are the cables. This was the biggest job so far. I drilled and installed the sensors and routed the cable into the car. So now what I can do is to simply place this piece of trim back, and all we will be working with from now on is going to be wiring inside here. So now it's time to connect our main board to 12 volts. So we need 12 volts from the reverse bulb. I basically had to look for the 12 volts myself. So now the car is switched on, and as you can see, the reverse lights are on. And what I found out was that the reverse light cable, it's a white cable with the black line, and you can see it here. White cable with black line. It's the same on the other side too. So you can see the light is on behind it. So what I did was I traced the cable down here, down into this wiring box, this wiring location here, and I found out that there is a cable coming from the front of the car, which is it's very similar. It's basically the same white cable with the black line. Let me try to show you. Okay, it's here. White cable, black line. You can see the black line. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test with a multimeter to see if there is any continuity, if there is 12 volts when the reverse lights are switched on. Like now. Now the reverse lights are switched on. And you can see my multimeter is set to voltage. I have the black probe there, pushed into a ground point there, and now I'm going to touch that cable, which you can see I've exposed the cable a bit, and I'm going to touch it, the exposed copper wire, and as you can see, 12 volts. Depending on your car, if you're, in this case this is a Vauxhall Meriva, for me I found out after tracing the cable directly from there, from the bulb of the reverse light, the cable is a white cable with the black line. So in cases where you don't have the schematic, you don't have any repair manuals available to you, simply reverse engineer your cables and you should be able to find the cable that you need. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is to connect to this 12 volt my parking sensor cables, and I'll come back and do a quick test. Okay, so now I'm rounding up, and what was left to do was to feed the wire all the way from the back to the front of the dashboard where the display is going to remain. So what I did was I pulled out, obviously first you pull out the rubber that holds together the door and seals it, and I fed the wire through here. You can see it accumulated there at the back, through the insides of this, all the way inside here, and then you can see the wire fed inside of the headliner all the way through the center pillar from this side to here, and you can see the wire continuing from the back, fed through inside the headliner. And here you can see I had to remove the trim, which is held on by one clip here and two clips at the back. So if you want to remove this headliner, which stays here, the clip is basically inside of this airbag symbol, and you pull out on it like this, pull it out, and then you go through the boot and pull out the other clips, which are here, one above, which stays usually here, and the other one below. And you can see the cable is fed through the back harness and down into that slot there, which comes down into our wiring position. So now let me just show you what is the situation here. So far I have connected you can see through this hole, that red cable is attached to the white and black lined cable that I spoke about at an earlier time, and I have the black cable connected to one earth point. You can see this. The wires are wrapped. I wrapped the wires neatly and held them together to one harness. I also did that to the group of wires coming from the sensors, and they've been all installed here. Was able to attach the main sensor board to this plastic part of the trim via a double-sided tape that was provided in the pack. So all that's left to do now is to plug the wire that comes from the display up front into this, and I should be done. Once I'm done, I'll quickly do a test of the system, which I've already tested out of the vehicle. Obviously you have to test these systems before you do the big installation, in case you find something wrong. I'll be back in a second with a final test. So now everything is installed. All the cables look good and they're well placed. So the work is done there. So now I have about 1.2 meters between me and the car behind. So let's just give this a quick test. and calculate approximately how correct and accurate this is. Okay, it says 1.1. Reverse, and the system comes on, out of reverse gear, and the system goes off exactly how we want it to be. Okay, so I'm going to go back a bit more. I'm reversing back now. Okay, 0.5 meters. Let's see if the space is correct. It's very much correct. About half a meter now, 0.5. So it looks like everything works. I hope you enjoyed this series of installing the parking sensors with me, and I'll see you in my next video.